So I have to admit, um, my prediction that nobody is going to beat the Nuggets in a 7 game series does not look very good right now. Um,
Ant-Man would like a word with you.
yeah, about that. So, game 1, if I could make a bit of a joke here, I alluded it to the fact that Nikola Jokic was too busy betting on the Kentucky Derby to focus and play a good game. As we know, Nikola Jokic is one of the a advocate for horse racing in the sports world, if you will. But last night, Anthony Edwards didn't even play well, and the Denver Nuggets got their ass kicked. And it really didn't matter because after Aaron Gordon kept them in the game in the first quarter, Minnesota went on an incredible run. We had Michael Malone fighting with the refs. We had Jamal Murray ended up throwing a heat pack onto the floor. Um, and
Which
this
he
is
should be suspended for that.
so okay. So let's debate this because I thought about this, and this may be controversial, but if you ask me, um, if Steph Curry did not get suspended in the 2016 NBA Finals for throwing his mouthpiece, then Jamal Murray should not be suspended for this. Um, I would be in favor of a huge fine, but Jamal Murray doesn't have a precedent of being a guy who is a dirty player. By all respects, he's very respected around the league. It was a bad act, but in my opinion, especially because he's a first time offender, and again, is not known for being a Draymond Green type player who's getting all these technical fouls. I don't think he should be suspended. Now, if he was a moto on defender and there's more than one incident, yes, I agree, and it was bad. But in the playoffs, I think unless it's again something like Draymond, where he will literally kick LeBron in the private area in 2016, you don't suspend players in the postseason. That's just me.
I get what you're saying, but you're comparing Steph Curry to Jamal Murray. Like, no offense, Jamal Murray, but Steph Curry is on a different level when it comes to star power and what they mean to the game.
Listen, I would say Jamal Murray means a lot to the Denver Nuggets. I'm not saying they can't win without him, but he has rose and shown over these last 2 postseasons.
Oh, I get it. Like, Jokic and Jamal Murray is one of the best two-man games in the league, and very few teams have been able to stop it. Um, if any. Well, Minnesota has, so I'll give you that. But again, Jamal Murray doesn't have that same star power as Steph Curry. Even during the 26 leading up to the 2016 finals, Steph had already reached kind of that superstar
Oh, he for sure was. Many people were considering him, if not the best player, maybe the second best player in the league, right next to LeBron, and KD was in that conversation, but Steph was certainly in the top three.
exact. But that's my point, though. Like, Steph was already on a different level, so you don't want to remove him from the NBA Finals.
My thing though is it's not like Jamal Murray's a role player, right? Like he is the prominent number 2. And I have also on this show have called Jamal Murray, and I truly believe this. He may be in NBA history the best player ever to never make an All-Star team.
Yeah, and you definitely have a fair argument there. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, but this is such an unusual situation. We haven't seen anything like this. So it'll be interesting to see how the league handles it. If they don't suspend him and they just give him a major fine, understandable. If they do suspend him for game 3, that I think that's also understandable.
Well, hold on. Because I would have followed what you originally said. You originally said he should be suspended. But you also just said that you'd be okay essentially with him getting a fine and you would understand the reason why. So
No, I
elaborate
didn't
on
say
that.
no, I didn't say I would be okay with it. I simply said I would understand it.
You at the start of the show, you said he should be suspended for game 3.
Yes, I did. But I'm sa- but I'm saying if he were to just be fined and not be suspended, I would understand that. There's a difference between understanding something and being okay with it.
Well, I want you to elaborate on why you think he should be suspended.
Okay, so if by throwing a heat pack, you could possibly have a player get injured from that situation, whether it's like pulling some type of hamstring injury, groin injury. You're endangering players on the court by throwing a foreign object. That's why when fans start throwing like cans and bottles and bottle caps and various stuff, the PA announcer goes, please stop throwing stuff onto the court, the ice.
That's different. I mean, I've always believed, and this is what fans should not be allowed to sit courtside at NBA games. I've always believed that. I don't think it should be a thing. I think there should be a barrier up because fans are fans. Fans are crazy. Jamal Murray honestly made a mistake. He was probably frustrated in the moment. And to me, again, if he was a repeat offender, I would say absolutely. Like if Edric Beverly did this, for example, absolutely suspension. Jamal is not a multi-time repeater. And again, he's one of those respected players in the league.
Right. So again, that's why I'm saying I would understand it if he were to not be suspended. I'm not saying that's the right decision, but if that's what ultimately happens, it makes sense.
So when it comes down to this series, this may sound weird, but I don't think it's anything Minnesota's really doing to throw Denver off.
Excuse me.
I think it's more of just listen. Last night, I mean, nobody on Denver outside of Aaron Gordon could make a shot in the first half. Jamal Murray is not at a very good series. Yet, even though they got destroyed in game two, you could make the argument that if it wasn't for Naz Reid going off in game one, Denver might have still won that game. And Denver has not played horribly. And we've seen teams.
Are you kidding me?
We've
what?
Denver played horribly and could have won game one.
Minnesota has straight up put Denver in a straitjacket.
I've seen Denver just clank a lot of missed open shots that they would usually make. Michael Porter, especially. Porter was key. Porter hasn't done anything in this series.
That's because of the defense of the likes of Alexander Walker, Jaden McDaniels. You've got Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, the sixth man of the year, Mike Conley. They have bodies to throw at the Denver Nuggets.
They have bodies. My thing is, I think Denver just needs to play better because I still think Denver's a better team.
If Minnesota continues to play like this, Denver's getting swept.
Wow. I'll bet you something right here, right now. Denver's not getting swept. Jamal Murray suspended or not, Denver will not get swept. I will guarantee there will at least be 6 games in this series.
No way.
I'll guarantee it. You say no way? What do you want to put on the line, Josh? Because I guarantee this series will go 6 games at least. No matter who, if Minnesota wins or Denver wins.
You think the series is ultimately going back to Minnesota for game 6?
Absolutely.
Okay, tell me right now, which game is Denver winning? Game 3 or game 4?
How about both? I think we're going back to Ball Arena 2-2. And by the way, I think Denver could win 4 straight.
Given the way Minnesota has played them defensively?
I'm not saying it's likely, but it could happen. I just can't sit here and say the world champions are about to get swept. Well, we just watched them dominate for 2 years.
Okay, but Minnesota, we saw this throughout the regular season. Minnesota matches up really well against Denver.
They do, but what I'm trying to say is they beat their ass last night, but I think in game 1, Denver was the better team, but they just made their shots. That game was close in the fourth quarter. Denver just couldn't convert, and a lot of that was on their own. Jokic now rebounded the ball, not getting those putbacks.
Why do you think Jokic wasn't able to rebound? Because of the likes of Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony
A
Towns,
lot of
Naz
it was
Reid.
it just looked like Jokic was out of it. It wasn't anything Minnesota did, in my opinion. You watch, they're not putting a ton of bodies on him. They're not making it that difficult. It's just pure misses.
Nah, I think you're only seeing half the picture here.
No, I think you're only seeing out the picture because you want to see the Timberwolves go to the finals. And I'm telling you, this thing is not over.
I believe it is.
It's
I think
again.
Minnesota has.
What do you want to put on the line? You're scared because you don't want to put anything on the line. What do you want to put on the line?
Tell me what you want to put on the line then. If you're so confident in Denver,
I am confident. I believe that this will go at least 6 games. Even if Minnesota wins, this will go at least 6.
Tell me since you're Mr. Confident over there. Tell me what you want to put on the line.
Whoa, what's your favorite drink?
Okay, how about a bottle of Dr. Pepper?
All right, we'll do it.
All right,
there you go. First bet on championship rings in the history of the show that the series will go 6 games. It doesn't matter who wins the series, that it will go 6 games.
Minnesota's got this on lock.
Okay, so you think Minnesota is going to finish them in 5 or what? Do you think Denver will win at least a game?
Given the way Minnesota is played defensively, I could see a scenario where the Timberwolves get out their brooms.
You would have bet another case? You would have bet another case that Denver's going to get swept?
No, we just bet a single bottle, not a full case.
Okay, well, do you want to bet another bottle that Denver's going to get swept?
No.
Because I don't see a scenario at all where they get swept.
At best, I have Minnesota in 5.
All right, that is fair. Let's move on to the next series. So, Oklahoma City, Dallas. So you have Minnesota going to the Western Conference Finals, potentially in a sweep. How do you see this series shaking out?
This series is going to be fantastic. I think, contrary to the last series, I think this one's going the full 7 because you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, PJ Washington, Derek Lively. You have Daniel Gafford, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort. You have I always get confused with the 2 Williams boys for Oklahoma City. But there is so much talent in this series. I can't see a way that this series goes any less than 6.
So I agree with you. I think it's going to go 6. I actually give the advantage to Dallas in this series. I think the X factor, though, is going to be on the Oklahoma City side, and it's going to be, can Dallas find a way to match up against Chet Holmgren? Because
I did forget to mention him.
Because I don't think they have the size to deal with that unicorn. Though Dallas's defense against the Clippers surprised me. If you recall, I said that Clippers-Dallas series would go either way, and if Kawhi Leonard didn't play in a lot of those games, I would lean towards Dallas, which that ended up being the case. I still need to see more out of Oklahoma City. I did not believe in the Pelicans as a real playoff team. I give Oklahoma City credit for sweeping them, and they definitely have a ton of talent. But I think the best player in this series is Luka Doncic. And you will go on the board if you take injuries into the equation. Out of every playoff series that has been played so far in the first round, the best player on the court won every series.
Yeah.
And so in that case, that's why I would lean towards Dallas in this series, because Luka and Kyrie, who had a really good first round, may be too dynamic enough for a young Oklahoma City team who, again, I really don't know how good they really are. We're about to find out how good they really are to handle. Could I see a scenario where the Thunder surprise us all and the Thunder, do what they did in the regular season and prove why they're the number 1 seed? Yes. But I think ultimately people are trying to crown Luka Doncic back into the best player in the world conversation. This is his series to me. This is where Luka proves that first round matchup against the Clippers was not just because the injuries to Kawhi Leonard. That Dallas is the real deal.
To me, this is a matchup of the MVP for this season against, I would say, probably the third place candidate in the MVP discussion. For me, I have Shea Gilgeous Alexander as MVP, and that's because in this case, I'm placing more value on the word, well, value. If you take Shea Gilgeous Alexander off of this Oklahoma City Thunder team, I don't think they're anywhere near the number one seed in the Western Conference.
You can say the same thing I believe about Dallas and Luka.
That's what I'm saying. So, whereas people are just automatically crowning Jokic as the MVP, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Not so fast. I have Shea. I think Shea has been more valuable to Oklahoma City than Jokic has to Denver. That's not to diminish what Nikola Jokic has done this season or the fact that he won finals MVP last year. But if you take Jokic off of the Nuggets, I still think they would make the playoffs, probably in that 6-4 range, maybe. But if you take Shea off of the Thunder, they're maybe they get in the play-in tournament, but I don't think they would make the actual playoffs.
Think about 7 months ago when we were making our NBA predictions. I know for me, I had both Oklahoma City and Minnesota as potential play-in tournament teams. And so to see both of them, obviously Minnesota the number 3 seed, Oklahoma City the number 1 seed, and that is indeed our Western Conference Finals matchup. I want you to find me a pundit, a predictionist, an NBA expert in the world who predicted that exact matchup.
Or if we get Dallas against Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals. I don't know anyone who predicted that.
Well, I think some people had Dallas just because of Luka, but I'm saying Oklahoma City and Minnesota combined. I don't know because most people either had Denver, the Lakers, some had Phoenix potentially, maybe, and some maybe the Clippers that they thought they could finally figure things out. But nobody, I can tell you right now, nobody had Oklahoma City. Maybe a couple had Dallas, and I don't think anybody would have Oklahoma City. Maybe somebody out there could see this coming, but I kind of thought that they were the magic of this year, where they were they'd be a 5 or 6 seed, and they were a year away.
Right. That you're just further enhancing my argument for why I think Shea should be MVP this season over Nikola Jokic. But again, that's just me.
So what? So I'm gonna make my official prediction for this. I have Dallas winning in 6. What's yours?
I got Dallas in 7.
Okay. So that would mean Dallas would go to Oklahoma City for a game 7, and they would pull it out on the road, which we've seen in recent NBA history more so than in the past, but it's difficult.
It is. And we know how loud it can get in Oklahoma City come
Oh man,
playoff.
those old Thunder teams with Westbrook, Kevin Durant. You could even throw the one team with James Harden that ended up making the finals. Harden as a 6 man. Those
Plus
were
Serge Ibaka.
Serge. Oh, I always said with Serge Ibaka how great he was on the defensive end. That was prime Oklahoma City Thunder days. I've always said this: like the T Wolves are good again, the Thunder are good again. It's like after they've been bad for so many years, you kind of forget that, like, oh yeah, they do have a great fan base. Oh yeah, they did go on this run.
Yeah. I'm still bitter about the Thunder because of the whole Seattle Supersonics thing, though. So,
Speaking of which, if there's a team that maybe you won't, there are 2 teams that you will die on the hill for. One's the Minnesota Timberwolves. The other is the Indiana Pacers, who last night they had a chance.
and they got screwed by the refs.
Well, you guys can cry about it all you want. I took a look at the replay 5 times. It looks like an illegal screen to me. But
Your
nonetheless,
TV was clearly broken then.
well, I don't know. I was watching with a couple buddies. We all said the same thing. Miles Turner's moving as he sets the screen. His foot is shoveling. So,
Give Dante DiVincenzo an Oscar for his acting job.
by the way, it was a great acting job. I give Dante DiVincenzo that.
Hey, by the way, if you go back just a couple plays before on the phantom kickball call, there was a illegal screen by DiVincenzo on that same play.
I'm sure there was. We mentioned how bad NBA officiating is. I've told you multiple times it's the worst out of all four pro sports. And you just gotta live with the results. But at the end of the day, you know what's funny, and I know you're gonna disagree with me on this. I don't think Indiana has even a ouch of superstardom on their team. I don't view Tyrese Halliburton in that realm.
I do.
I think Tyrese Halliburton disappears. He had 6 points last night. He disappeared in 2 out of the games against Milwaukee, and they should have lost game 3, and that series could have went to 7, and Giannis didn't even play in it. So I can't figure out Indiana because all they do is score. They can't defend. They have good
Their defense
talent.
has gotten better since the All-Star break.
Well, I don't know what they give up last night. 120.
Right. Okay. So here's the interesting part. Indiana's bench completely destroyed New York's bench. I think it was like 46-3 in terms of bench points or something. Excuse me. Dealing with a bit of a seasonal cold at the moment, so you'll have to forgive me on that one. But Indiana has to change the defensive matchup against Jalen Brunson. Nembhard, he's good defensively, but he can't stay with Jalen Brunson. I would go with Nesmith. He's bigger. He might not be as quick laterally, but I feel like he could give Jalen Brunson more problems. But can we talk about Jalen Brunson for a minute? Because I remember when he signed that deal with the New York Knicks, everybody was like, what? You're signing him for how much? And now everybody's like, oh, this dude is that good. Like, he is that guy.
He is carrying the Knicks. I mean, if you stop Jalen Brunson, you're stopping their whole offense, is the way I see it.
Yeah, but good luck stopping Jalen Brunson.
Well, to me, you trap him. You get the ball out of his hands. If Josh Hart puts up 20, go ahead. If DiVincenzo puts up 20 to 25, Harvenstein, Mitchell Robinson, you don't let Jalen Brunson get going. Jalen Brunson's got what now? 4 straight 40-point games. The only reason why the Knicks may be in the second round, and that is again because the Philadelphia 76ers are, they have no players essentially that can play playoff games, and they're all hurt, and it doesn't work. And like again, the Knicks are the 2 seed. They don't feel like a 2 seed. Indiana is a 6 seed, which I don't even think in the West they'd be in the playoffs if you ask me. If they played a full season out West, to me, like that's why I don't get excited for this series because we'll talk about the next series. I think whoever wins this series would lose to Boston. I think the Knicks could make it a series. But I don't see a way Boston doesn't make it out of the East.
So check this out. I'm going to tie in the Stanley Cup playoffs here for just a minute. There is a scenario where we could get Boston against New York in the Eastern Conference Finals for both the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs. Because you got the Celtics, obviously, and the Knicks. And then in the NHL, you have the New York Rangers and the Boston Bruins, who could potentially be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
That is spicy. I'm not going to lie to you. When the Cavs were down 18 points, what was it, like 4 minutes left in the half of second quarter of Game 7, I started going online and looking up plane tickets for Cancun. I started Googling who is available as a head coach to get rid of John Belair Bickerstaff.
Oh, you looked up his full first name?
Well, I already knew his full first name. And so then Donovan Mitchell happened. And Donovan Mitchell did what Donovan Mitchell should do as the number one option of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he put away the young Orlando Magic, who Pablo Banchero played a great series, played a great first half of Game 7. Obviously, Isaac Okoro did a number on him in the second half defensively, and then Franz Wagner sort of disappeared in Game 7. But watching the entire series, Darius Garland had a horrible Game 7. If it wasn't for Karis LeVert and Max Strus getting some timely buckets, I don't even know if the Cavs win that game. The Cavs are so Donovan Mitchell dependent, it's scary. It's sort of with the Knicks where it's like they're Jalen Brunson dependent, but you don't know what you're going to get from Josh Hart or Harvenstein or, any of those other guys. For the Cavs, if you're going to beat Boston, which they absolutely need Jared Allen to do so, you're going to need Evan Mobley to give you more offensive production than what he did against the Knicks. You're going to need LeVert every night. You're going to need Strus every night. And I don't think it's possible because J.B. Bickerstaff has never won a road playoff game as a head coach.
So everyone is saying Boston is going to sweep us. Boston is going to win in a gentleman's sweep. 4 or 5 games. Do I need to remind you that in 2023, the Cleveland Cavaliers went 3-1 against the Boston Celtics in the regular season series? Granted, 3 of those games went into overtime, but we still won the regular season series 3-1.
And those were all very early in the season, and they didn't matter because the Cavs didn't even make it past round 1. Irrelevant.
The 4th game of the regular season series was late in the season, so you are not correct on that one. And
okay,
then,
well, that was last year. Who cares about last year?
Wait. And then, if you remember, the final game of the regular season series this season, Boston.
Oh, yeah. It took Max Strus making a miracle 3 after the Cavs were down 26. You're going to put that in your hat? Who cares about that?
Okay, you're confusing 2 different games. You're thinking of the Dallas game.
No, when we came back against Boston.
That was the Dean Wade game, not Max Strus.
Yeah, Dean Wade's not even available in the series, so.
Yes. So, but here's my thing, and you may laugh at me. So, Boston, on their scouting report, obviously they have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. We know. But you know who they don't have on their scouting report?
Don't say Isaac Okoro, or I may. Okay, I was just saying.
No. Amani Bates.
Stop it. He's not playing in this series, Josh.
You said it yourself. Throughout the regular season series, or regular season, I should say, and the playoffs, there have been so many times where if Garland is out, then Mitchell has to play. If Mitchell is out, Garland has to play. If you can get Amani Bates off the bench, and get him in the lineup, maybe he can get going, give you that spark offensively, and maybe, just maybe, you could do a backcourt of Amani Bates and Karis LeVert so that you can give Mitchell and Garland some rest.
Amani Bates is 6'9"? He's a small forward.
Okay, even still. You could still put him and Karis LeVert together. Why not?
No. Mitchell and Garland, one of them is going to be on the court all at the same time.
Hey, I'm just putting out an idea out there.
I don't like that idea at all. Just like I didn't like your idea of George Niang. He was clearly benched at the end of the series for Marcus Morris. Do we have a word on if Jared Allen's officially tonight, by the way? Because he should play. He should have played Sunday. Unless he has broken ribs, Jared Allen should be out there. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah. We have a comment here. I think we very well do have a shot against Boston, but it's going to take good play from everyone, not just 45. It's time for DG to start playing like the all-star we know. And then he says, we need our quote, unquote, head coach to be smart.
the worst head coach in the history of basketball. Go back and watch last week's championship rings. You'll know what I'm talking about. Listen, we're not we have to set we have to set realistic expectations. If the Cavs win this series, I'll be over the moon. I think there's a legit chance it goes six. I do
I
think
got
that
Boston in 7.
you think it. I don't think it goes. I don't think JB Bickerstaff could coach against the Celtics for. That's my only. If the Cavs had a real coach, we'd have a real shot to win this series. My only. We
We
don't
match
have a
up.
coach.
We match up well. I don't get it. Why is everybody saying we don't? We're a bad matchup for Boston. Like,
Because we just went to 7 games with a baby Magic who couldn't shoot.
again, do I need to remind you how well we've played against Boston the last 2
It's the
seasons?
regular season. How much do I know it's Mickey Mouse?
I don't care that it's the regular season. We match up well against Boston.
You know,
I
matching up well doesn't always equate to victories. Look at the Lakers. They match up well against Denver. They won 7 straight or whatever it was.
okay, granted, 2 of those games in that series required a Jamal Murray game-winning
Again
shot.
and again, but the fact of the matter is they're at home right now. They're in Cancun. I don't care about almost. Almost so we counted horseshoes and hand grenades.
Again, I still have Boston winning this series, but I know what I've seen when the Celtics have played the Cavaliers. We match up well against them. I think the series is going 6 or 7.
This to me, I hate to say it as a Cavs fan, but I'm more interested in what the Cavs do after this series as opposed to during this series. Because I think the Cavs have to have real grown up conversations. And I think you have to start with, does Donovan Mitchell want to sign an extension? Because if he does not, it's going to kill all you Cleveland Cavalier fans out there. But you have to explore moving on from Mitchell. You have to explore all options. And if that includes getting rid of Mitchell for 2 wings and 2 more shooters, then by all means do it. If you have to explore giving up Mobley, I would not give up Jared Allen. I've been the biggest proponent of Evan Mobley. I think Evan Mobley could be a future star. But I think it's becoming more and more clear Mobley and Jared Allen may not be able to play together because when Jared Allen and Mobley are both in there, sometimes Mobley looks lost. And when Mobley's at the 5 with Jared Allen out, Mobley actually looks like a better defensive player. So
It's interesting you say that because, I have seen what you're talking about where our too big system isn't quite working. Excuse me. And yet you look over at Minnesota where they're employing the same thing with the too big lineup of Carl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, and it seems to be working well for them.
well, it's also because Cat's a better shooter than Mobley, and Gobert is arguably a better defender than Allen, not by much, but he is a better defender. And they have Anthony Edwards, who's a bigger Donovan Mitchell, and they have better defensive wings and more reliable players than the Cavs do.
That's that's a fair argument. I just wanted to bring that up again about Minnesota though.
So I have Boston 6. You have Boston in either 6 or 7. You're still, I forgot to ask you this on the last topic. Are you still riding with Indiana to win that series?
Yeah, I still think Indiana can win that series. In I'm still going to say Indiana in 6.
So
Um,
we're going to be clear here to end today's show that in our conference finals, Josh has 6 seeded Indiana against number 1 seed Boston. Out west, he has the 3 seed Timberwolves. They would actually host the series. They would host number 5 seed Dallas. I
correct.
have Dallas still going to Denver. I think Denver wins 4 of the next 5. I think they win this series in 7 games. And then I have Boston against the Knicks. Chalk, if you will, out east. I don't think it matters. Um, I'll say this: if Josh is right and Josh gets his bottle of Dr. Pepper for me in the Minnesota Timberwolves move on, I think the winner of the T Wolves versus Nuggets. I said this about the T Wolves Lakers. I think the winner or Nuggets Lakers. I think the winner of T Wolves Nuggets may be your NBA champion.
Think about this. If we potentially get Minnesota Boston in the NBA finals, like Boston's not like I would say Boston's more of a mid-market type of NBA city.
I would not say that at all.
Because
But
they're not like LA or New York or
yeah,
Chicago.
they are. Yeah, they are. They have the second most championships in the history. Name me a brand besides the Lakers, Knicks, and Bulls bigger in the NBA.
Okay, that's fair. I I was just trying to think about this because like last year we had Denver winning it. Denver's not really a like a major NBA market. We've had
No,
Toronto.
they're not. I can tell you from first-hand experience. You go to a store in Denver, there's nothing but stuff. You can't even find a Nikola Jokic jersey on the shelf.
So that was more the point I was trying to make. If like Minnesota wins it all, they're more of a mid-market team,
Oh yeah, they are. I mean, they're definitely a football town.
right?
Boston. Now, from people who have talked about Boston, it really and they are so spoiled. It doesn't matter. But really, actually, the Patriots out of all the sports are the least most popular. They're big on the Red Sox no matter what, and it's sort of the Celtics, Bruins, depending on who's doing better as that second team.
That's why I threw Boston into the conversation originally because they're not. I wouldn't say in terms of actual city, they're not the likes of New.
That's yes, but in terms of the NBA, yes, they are.
Okay, that's fair. I I was kind of separating those two, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Well, yes, you made your point clearer this second time around than the first time. I'll say that.